Hi, it's Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today's book is The Monster Under the Shed from 2001. So let's get started. It was a dark, brassern evening at the station. Sir Topham Hatter had closed the railroad early on account of the weather. The engine was waiting for the signals to return to their shed. Maybe one of us should tell a story to pass the time, Thomas suggested. The other engine looked pleased with Thomas' idea. I have the perfect story for tonight, Jane volunteered with a side grin. A long time ago, Jane began, there was a brave blue engine who was always eager to help. Blue engine, the station master asked one night, would you go to the end of the tracks to pick up a coach that was left behind? Of course, the brave engine replied, and he set out into the dark, foggy night. But by the time the little blue engine reached the end of the tracks, the fog was so thick he could hardly see anything. I'll just have to wait until morning, said the engine to himself, and he settled into an old shed for the night. Later that night, the little blue engine awoken to a noise coming from behind the shed. He opened his eyes and saw long fingers reaching for him. Through the floorboards, there was a monster under the shed. Terrified, the little blue engine raced out of the shed, with the hard-boiled, engine-eating monster chasing him through the fog. Then what happened? Percy asked timidly. That's when the story ends, said James. No one ever heard that little blue engine again. What about the monster? Percy whispered. Don't be silly, Percy, Gordon said with a chuckle. It's just a story. What if the story is true? Percy asked Thomas on their way to the shed. What if the engine-eating monster is out there somewhere, right now? Stop being just a scary cat, Percy, Thomas answered. There are no such thing as a monster. Later that night, after they had settled in for bed, the engine was startled by a terrible racket coming from Percy's shed. Gordon, Thomas, help. There's a monster in my shed, wailed Percy. Suddenly, Jane appeared, roaring with laughter. Bear, he had been rattling some scrap metal behind the shed to frighten Percy. I'm a monster, James shouted. Percy was embarrassed for making such a fuss. It's okay, Percy, said Henry. Sometimes good imagination thinks bad thoughts. Later that night, Thomas woke with a fright. He heard a strange noise, scratch, scratch. Stop it, James, Thomas yelled. But James was sound asleep. Scratch, scratch. If it's not James, then maybe I really do have a monster under my shed, thought Thomas, and he stayed awake all night just to be safe. Thomas was awfully tired when he met Percy at the dock the next morning. Did you hear anything strange? Did you hear any other strange noises in your shed last night? Thomas asked. Not after James' silly prank, Percy replied. Now Thomas felt silly himself for staying awake all night. By the middle of the day, there was a very sleepy and running far behind Scour. Henry pulled up beside him. You look as if you could use some special coal, said Henry. Oh, I'm just a little tired, Thomas answered. He didn't want anyone to know that he'd been too frightened to sleep. Just then, James sped by an express track. "What the matter, Thomas?" he called. "Monster keeping you up at night?" And James disappeared down the track, laughing loudly. By the end of the day, Thomas barely had enough steam to make it back to the yard. The other engine would tell him stories again, but Thomas headed straight to bed. Sometime that night, Thomas woke with a fright. Scratch, scratch. The noise was back, and they were definitely coming from under the shed. "Who's there?" Thomas whispered in the dark. Creak, creak came the answer. "Go away, monster. Get out," Thomas ordered as he closed his eyes tight. Thump, 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 thump. The noise was getting louder and closer. That was surely woke the other engine, Thomas said to himself. That saved me from the monster, but the other engine didn't stir. Thump, thump. It's just outside noise, Thomas. Yep. There's it. Wait, there it's head. "Help, Gordon," Thomas whispered, but only the monster heard him. Thump, 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 thump. Then the door of Thomas' shed began to rattle on their hinges. Bang, 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 bang. "It's trying to get in," thought Thomas. Then suddenly the banging stopped. Thomas was too frightened to move. He peered out into the dark, and there it was, the horrible engine-eating monster. Thomas could see it, eyes glowing in the dark. Thomas clamped his own eyes shut and screamed. "Gordon, Henry, Percy, James," he cried, "save me from the monster." Thomas Gordon laughed. "Open your eyes. What are you laughing at, Gordon?" snapped Thomas. "There's a monster right under my shed." "Not anymore," Gordon replied. "Now monster is inside your shed." Thomas opened one eye very slowly. "A hedgehog?" Thomas yelled in surprise. "I was afraid of a tiny yellow hedgehog." Now the engines all laughed, and Thomas laughed with them. "Percy had a good imagination, Thomas, but I think yours is even better," said Gordon, with a little chuckle. "I think you're right," agreed Thomas. "It's the only thing in the world that could turn a tiny hedgehog into a big scary monster." So that was The Monster Under the Shed from 2001. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment. Have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.